Welcome to this sample of Brody's Learning Burst series. This particular session is focused on creating a culture of accountability. I'm Brody, President of Brody Professional Development, and of 5 presenters who will be delivering the monthly webinars in the Learning Burst series. I'll tell you what's included in the series overall, and then specifically some of the things around accountability. Each month, you will be sent a link to a webinar. Now, the webinar is about 30 minutes. You're also going to get a PDF of the slide deck and a discussion guide, which will include questions and activities to be used in tandem with the webinar. The whole session is going to be about 60 minutes with the webinar and the activities and discussion. You will also be receiving an ebook from our Competitive Advantage series that's going to help you anchor the conversation and the webinar. We're recommending a group of about 20 people, so it will encourage robust conversation and maximum pull-through. In this particular session of accountability, we actually start by defining accountability. Have you thought how you would define that word? It's pretty simple. It is owning the results, or ownership of the results. Now, this that gets in the way. I think we overcomplicate. Do what you say you're going to do. That would be it, right? And then deciding if it works out well, you celebrate. If it doesn't, what do you learn from it? And how do you move on, and how do you fix it? But this seems to get in the way of people actually owning results. What are those things? We tend to blame, and we tend to make excuses. And you can think yourself of the excuses that are used within your organization, or perhaps you've used yourself in terms of it's not my job, it can't be done, I don't have the time, it's the economy. You know what it is. Problem is that finger-pointing and blame and excuses, they never lead to positive results. And if we don't accept responsibility for what we didn't do or didn't work, then we can't learn from it and we can't make the changes. What are the steps that lead to it? Well, first of all, we talk about examples. This is an example of one of the study questions, so people can have that conversation. Where do you see the blame? Where's the finger pointing? And so, again, people can talk about that. And then what gets in the way of actually being successful? And there you might get a lot of people talking about things that are going on within the organization, or a lot of time, and you try to figure out, because ultimately we want to be successful. We want to get the results. And that last bullet there says, why is accountability important? And when you can get a group of people really buying into it and learning how to become more accountable, then you're going to start seeing more positive results in terms of creating that culture that I think everyone wants to create. It's just a matter of where do we start. And you can't just say, oh, well, we don't get it from the top, therefore we don't do it. It has to start somewhere. And typically it will start within these groups, because people can start looking at the importance of it and what's getting in the way. Now, there are steps that lead to accountability. And there are three clearly defined steps. The first is responsibility. So part of a project team, what have you agreed to? Have you agreed? And do you understand? And is it clear? If it's something that you're committing to yourself, are you clear about the outcome you're looking for and what you have committed to? So it's, what is the responsibility that has been given to you and you have accepted, or you have brought on and volunteered yourself? That's number one. And with clarity there, then we say, well, what do I need to do to get it done? What's the help I need? What are the tools I need? What is the time that I'm looking for? And sometimes we may have to renegotiate some of it, but we look for every way possible to do what we said we would do. Ultimately, whenever something is done, we're accountable for those results. Again, good or bad. So, accountable people clarify expectations, and that's going to come right up with that responsibility. All this starts there. They clarify. They know what is expected, the surprises, and they make clear agreements. We all know who's going to do what by when. So that's the ownership of what you've agreed to. We know what the deadlines are, and ultimately, what are we always doing? We're working on results. And so when we think of accountability, it's about project and performance, that type of thing. But there's other things, too. And in this webinar, we talk about attitude. Each of us is responsible, ultimately, and then accountable for the result of our attitude, our reputation, our own careers, and demonstrating courage. Because I think accountability does require the courage. And what we want to do overall is have this mantra: what can I or we do to get the results we want? And if we look through those steps of being responsible and what the responsibility is and how we're empowering and ultimately leading accountability. So if accountability is important to you, to your team, your company, I'm going to tell you that this session will start the conversation. And you can set up accountability partners that can be working together and coming back the next month and sharing what you've done. This is one of the 12 topics that is part of our Learning Burst series. So call or email us for information so you and your team can get started.